Newcastle Borough Council Cabinet meeting. I'd like to welcome Cabinet members who are joining us today. That's Councillor David Hutchinson, who's portfolio holder for Sustainable Environment, Councillor Andy Fear, who's portfolio holder for Strategic Planning, and also Councillor Stephen Sweeney, who's Deputy Leader and portfolio holder for Finance, Town Centres and Growth, and I'm Council Leader Simon Tagg. Also welcome our officers today, also members of the council that are also joining us, and also those people that will be watching us online, either live or recorded. If you'd like to see the agenda that we're going through today, there is a link below in the section underneath the YouTube video. Item 1 is apologies. I've got apologies from Jill Waring and also Jill Heeson today, so if we could note those. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do we have any items of interest to be declared by members? I would like to declare an interest on item number 6, as I'm a member of the Kidsgrove Town Deal Board. I will be speaking and voting, but it's appropriate that I put the interest as the council's representative on the Kidsgrove Town Deal Board for item 6, which is the Kidsgrove Shared Service Hub. Item 3 is minutes of the previous meeting on pages 4 to 9. Can we agree those as a correct record? Thank you, Cabinet members. And that brings us to the first item of business today, which is our regular Walleys Quarry update. And our Chief Executive is going to give us a run through of the report before us.
Thank you, Leader. The paper they have is the standard format that gives us the information in terms of the complaints arising from Walleys Quarry, and also the information that's coming off the monitoring stations that are dotted around the area. The data for June, which is the last information that update on the last information you've had, which would have been May, showed that April, May and June were relatively strong months in terms of the complaints that we've received. Albeit I think June is slightly tailed off compared to what it had been in May. But as we move through into July, we're seeing that the complaints really have tailed off to a very low number again. In terms of the data coming through from the monitoring stations, it is very much a steady picture from what you've been well used to seeing, with virtually no exceedances of the World Health Organization annoyance threshold at 3 of the monitoring stations, with any exceedances, as have been reported, typically being at the Gallingale View site. But again, those are low compared to what they have been in the past. So we continue to monitor the situation. We're working with the operator to identify any clear reasons for the exceedances that have popped up from time to time on particular days, and will be our experts and their experts are going to be working together to try and identify if there's any definitive cause that can be identified other than just the natural process that is ongoing in the breakdown of the waste, etc. So there's nothing. I mean, it is very much sort of a steady state position this time, and nothing sort of particularly out of the ordinary to report.
Thank you, Martin. Open up to comments from Cabinet members. Looking around, Andy.
Thank you very much. No, I agree with what our officer said. I mean, these are broadly very good figures. Things are down pretty much across the board. The only thing is, and I suspect this is where we will need expert input, is just those curious little spikes that we seem to get at Gallingale. Presumably gas is venting in some way there. That has not been expected. And one would hope that with a little bit of thought and work, we can get that down as well. But broadly speaking, I think we should, obviously with caution, with an eye to the future, but we should welcome these figures.
Yes, thank you, Andy. I think we've been in this situation before, haven't we? Where we've had these good reports to Cabinet, and then the next month we've seen a spike in odours, which have been causing discomfort and to local people. I think we should always bear that in mind when we look at these figures. But I think since our last meeting, obviously we know that the Environment Agency have asked the operator to to cap the side which faces onto Gallengale. That work has already started, hasn't it? So hopefully we're beginning to see the results of that. And I think we'll see by the autumn whether that has been successful or not as we enter a change in weather season, which would create more odours. So I think it's a fairly reasonable picture at the moment, but we still do have spikes. And I think that is particularly for those people on Gallengale side, which also affects the pool fields and down into the town centre as well as it drifts down there. So I think it's a watching brief. We do have obviously the backup of our abatement notice process, which if we need to call on that, we will do on behalf of our residents. I think it's key that we keep this as a key priority and keep regular updates coming to council. I will put in a report to the council meeting next week for all members to comment through the leader's statement, as I usually do as well. But I think at the moment, the report is before us. Do we all agree the recommendation that we note and look into the report? Thank you. Item 5 is the corporate peer review challenge outcome and action plan. Really pleased to bring this to the public council cabinet meeting today. Officers and members and the cabinet particularly have known the results of the peer review, which we had in the spring now. Seems a long time ago, but I think it was only back in March, wasn't it, that we had it, which is a independent sort of overview of how the council's working. It's by obviously by the name peers. It's other councillors, other officers from outside the authority come in and give a view on how this council is being run, how it's working with its partners and how it's delivering. And they speak to all our staff, many of our staff. They speak to fellow councillors and they also speak to partners, and they look through all of our reports, whether that's financial ones, whether that's through our local plan consultation documents. They observe meetings. And the results of that is really a strong report for us, I think, and shows the work we've been doing with our officers over the last few years is really bearing fruit. And that we are, seeking to and delivering for the people of Newcastle through the plans that we're putting forward. And the inspection really draws out some key points which are covered in the report, which I'll highlight here. Strong financial management and stability. The work of the One Council approach, which is our innovation, modernisation, and obviously council savings plan approach to redesign of delivery of services particularly after the pandemic is going well and has been successful. It's delivering those changes we needed, which are bringing in savings which Councillor Sweeney can use for the budget, but also better ways of working and better services to our public. And we're on target to make the savings again this year, which we've made over the last couple of years. And also our staff are pleased to be working at the council. They are signed up to our agenda and they are working with us to deliver for the people of Newcastle. It's clear when it comes through when you read the report that the staff, are really, part of the Newcastle family, Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council family, delivering for our loyal and ancient borough in its 850th year. And then it also praises the item we've just looked at, which is the Walleys Quarry. And the tireless work that's taken place by officers as well on the unprecedented problems we've had with Walleys Quarry that's generated over 20,000 complaints to date. I think that's really a tribute to the not only the politicians in the room, but also the officers in our environmental health team who've worked under a lot of pressure, quite rightly so, from the public to get us to do what we can as a council. Of course, we can't go in there and close this down. It's not, we aren't the permit regulator. What we can do is hold the operator to account within the mechanisms we have through the abatement notice process and odour complaints that we get. So I think it's really good, and the credit to everybody involved. And I think there's an action plan attached, because there's always ways we can improve and get better. And we've got an action plan which we will be monitoring as we go forward. So I'm really pleased with this result, and it shows, I think, how we have reignited this council over the last few years. It was in a sorry state in 2017, the end of 2017. I think we built a good officer set now in this authority. We have a good set of members as well. We have a great cabinet. I'd like to thank the work of cabinet members past and present that have led to this judgment we've got today. I think it stands us in good stead as we move forward now on this regeneration, massive regeneration we want to bring about in our town centre, that we are now starting to deliver on through the Future High Street Fund and Town Deal. And in that report, from the peer review, we get a good feedback on the way we are bringing those plans forward. There's also some ways which we can improve, which is including making sure we sequence the regeneration to ensure we have the capacity and the funds available through our medium-term financial strategy, which we will do. But I'd just like to commend this report to Cabinet members and ask for their views on it as well, on particularly related to their portfolio. But I'll bring in Councillor Sweeney first. Stephen.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, I don't want to just eulogise over the finance team. I'll read a couple of things out there. The council's finances are healthy and actively managed, which places it in a stable position. A bit later on, NULBC has strong financial leadership and overall financial management and fully recognises future potential financial pressures and challenges. A bit later on, the finance team is well respected across the council and is promoting wider good financial management. All of this I totally, absolutely agree with. I think it is an excellent team. But what I like to talk is something a little different. Through this, there's a theme of partnership working, and I think when we talked to the peer review people, they were hugely impressed, I think, by the partnerships. We talk about the management team, the team there, but it's also the team of Newcastle. It's everybody coming together, and in this building now, you know, we've got ourselves, we've got the county, we've got the police. In the old days over Mail Street, you wanted the police, you had to go and there was all passwords and heaven knows what to get into the police rooms. Now you just walk up and talk to them. And I think this is very much the future for local government, bringing everything together and working like this. And partnerships, I think, is at its heart. And I think it's something that we do very, very well. And I think the peer review people have realised that we do it very well, and the praises to the hill. It's all through this report, isn't it? Thank you.
Yeah. One thing to pull out there, Stephen, is the praise for the vulnerability hub, which has got partners such as the police, county social services, and also on our street scene, and also our town centre management team involved. And that really comes as out of the report as one of the shining examples of partnership working. And the peer reviewers, particularly those that work in councils that have those type of services, were really interested in taking some of the learning that they've found during their few days here back to replicating their own authorities, which I think is a really good tribute to the work that team is doing in the vulnerability hub in the town centre, helping people that have fallen on hard times and need to be given accommodation or help and support to prevent them from sleeping rough and being on the street. So I think that's really good. Bring in Andy next.
Thanks very much. No, I'd like to re-echo some of the things Steve said about group working and making sure we're all marching in step. And one of the nicest things I think about this, because after all, the thing about a peer review is it's done by people who aren't coming in with a set of tick boxes, but actually are in the system themselves, so they know what they're talking about. So I do think we should take the conclusions here very, very seriously. Is the rather nice section on governance and culture, where we can see that not only do people employed here by the council feel that they can voice their opinions, that they feel a valued part of the community, and that's absolutely vital. I think it shows that the current administration has cashed in on making that happen. It's not a rhetorical thing. We're seeing the actual real results of that happening. But equally, I think it's nice here to see how we've built up a relationship with local government officers. There's a lot of stuff about how people are happy, members are happy with their relationship with officers, that they're getting the information they want. They feel that these things are accessible. So that, again, both having people here who are happy to work here, feel stimulated to work here, and also having members who feel that they too are engaged with the process, all shows that we're going forward well. And again, I think the fact that this is a report by people who are actually in the process, they're not looking at the process from outside, means that those are results that we should take very seriously.
Thank you, Andy. I think also, it emphasises in the report that our staff are signed up to our regeneration agenda and helping and going that extra mile sometimes to help us to get things over the line, whether that's the One Council initiatives to make savings and improve services, whether that is the regeneration. And let's hope that continues into the future as we move to the delivery phase on our multi-million-pound regeneration proposals. Bring in David.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I think this is a very, very good report for the council. On page 4, in section 4.3, which is on page 14 of the report, and on page 53 of the agenda, we read that the leader and the chief executive are available and visible, and this accessibility is valued by the council staff and all partners. The ability for individuals to be able to contact senior managers of the council and to raise issues in an open and transparent way is very much appreciated. As a new councillor who was elected in May 22, I agree with the section 4.3 statement. The support for me from the top down for a new councillor has been excellent. The council delivers great services. It is well led. That's a credit to the leader, Councillor Tagg, the CEO, the cabinet, all councillors and all officers. Thank you.
And thank you, Dave, for those kind words. And I think as we move forward, to look at the recommendations, we'll see that we receive and consider the Local Government Association's Corporate Peer Review Challenge Report, Newcastle-under-Lyme, and B, approve the action plan prepared in response to the LGA recommendations. I think just further to that, we will be having a presentation at full council on Wednesday for all members, where we will be having the peer review team coming back to Newcastle to present the report. So it won't be me as leader telling you how good we're doing. It'll actually be these peer reviewers that are coming from outside presenting, and also I believe one of the officers from the LGA will also be coming as well, and there'll be a chance to discuss and debate next Wednesday at full council. I think also a regular report back on the recommendations that are in the report, so we can get even better, move forward even faster, and particularly on those two streams of one council and also the regeneration plans, that we move forward at a deliverable pace, so we can achieve those benefits for the people of Newcastle. Those are the recommendations. All agreed? Thank you. Moving then now to our item 6, which is the Kidsgrove Shared Service Hub, and Stephen's going to introduce this item to start with.
Part of the town government is having a shared service hub in Newcastle. As you were in Kidsgrove. Unfortunately, we haven't got the space for it. We have got some land, but to add to that land, we've had to bring certain things together. One of which is what this is talking about. It's buying a garage, take the land off them, rebuild a new garage, and having the site big enough then to put this shared service hub on it, which I think is good for economy of scale. It's also good for the people at Kidsgrove, and I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Stephen. Through the Town Deal Board, which I'm a member and the council's representative on there, one of the key early aspirations was for a town centre services hub. Anybody that knows Kidsgrove knows that the town hall is up on the hill. You've got the sports centre over here. You've got the big urban communities stretching up almost in the foothills of Mowcop, and the town centre isn't as focused as it could be. It's got a railway station. It's got a library. It's got sheltered housing. It did have a Barclays Bank, but no longer. But it's also got shops, within an accessible, walkable area, but it doesn't have that central hub. So we've got money for obviously station improvements and also canal improvements, because canals are right next to the station, right on the edge of where this hub will intend to go. And we've been searching around for a plot within the town centre, and this is the one that has been put forward by our officers to bring forward as the site for the shared services hub. This morning, the Town Deal Board met, and it was unanimous. It wasn't unanimously agreed, but it was voted through that we should have this item be supported, and that we do seek to purchase this land, the owners of Dale's Garage. There was some concerns about purchasing land and then not having a concrete proposal ready to go to actually build and develop. But I think when it comes to Town Deal, like we have in Newcastle, as we are in Kidsgrove, we do, for example, purchase land. We have demolished land buildings in with future plans to come along. A perfect example of that is the Kidsgrove Sports Centre project, where we got control of the building first and then developed the plans. And also you can see where the demolishment of Zanzibar took place with advanced Town Deal money, and then Aspire bringing proposals forward to build on that in the future. And we've done it on the Rycroft as well. So I think those sort of concerns are misplaced, but overwhelmingly supported by the Town Deal Board this morning, that we move ahead with this. And I think I'd just like to thank couple of people. One is Paul Waring, who's the mayor of Kidsgrove Town Council, who's been working heavily on this project for the last year or so, and he has also ensured that the Town Council will be the body that will run this hub along with other partners, which I think is really great. I think that response from Kidsgrove Town Council to this has been just what we wanted. We haven't always had that in the past, but they want to be really at the centre of making this shared services hub work. So really like to thank Paul, and also the chair of the Town Deal Board, Dan Gray, for the work that he's also put in, and also our MP out there, which is Jonathan Gullis, who's also been working to ensure that it smooths the path with the bid to government and the business case, and also the work that he's doing and still doing on trying to bring in more money for the station works, which needs some site works done before we can really revamp this railway station there in Kidsgrove. So this is a key part of the next phase of the delivery of the town deal in Kidsgrove. So the recommendations are that the progress on the delivery of this shared hub is noted, and that work continues with the town council and other partners to develop the project, and that the Cabinet authorises the Deputy Chief Exec in consultation with Portfolio for Town Centres and Growth to complete all the legal documentation to complete a land transaction with the owners of Dales Garage to purchase part of their land in their ownership and build a replacement garage building as Stephen outlined, and that Cabinet continues to receive such updates on the shared service hub that as may be required as we move forward with the project. Any other comments before we move to the recommendations? Okay, all agreed. Thank you. We're now moving to item number 7, which is a contract for the award of Wammy football changing room development. And Stephen's going to introduce this on behalf of Jill Waring in her absence.
Yeah, thank you. This report concerns delivery of the football changing rooms at the Wammy. The delivery of football changing facilities at the Wammy aligns with the aspirations of the council's playing pitch strategy, and the provision of changing rooms is intended to overcome some of the perceived barriers to participating in football on an open field, such as lack of toilet provision, space for changing, and the provision of lockers to secure valuables. Now, someone here, it says about putting the heart back into Nutton, and this is Nutton's lost a lot over the years. And although this is between Crossheath and Nutton, I think it'll still be used by people of Nutton. It's starting to put things back into it. What I find especially encouraging is that Newcastle Town Football Club are big players in this. Now, Newcastle Town Football Club, apart from having the honour of being in Clayton, as for example, put a £1 million all-weather pitch in Row Lane, the training facility. £1 million they've got from various different, they haven't paid for it, they've got it from various different sources. So I think the fact that Newcastle Town are prepared to put their name to a project, as well as the Borough Council, I find extremely encouraging. And I think it's something that'll be an excellent facility for people of Crossheath and Nutton. Okay.
Andy.
Yeah, no, I think this, we have to welcome this, don't we? Again, just as Steve's just said, I mean, the fact that the local non-league team is a driver here as well says that it's a sensible thing. Can't help but point out, particularly for the information leader, that Newcastle Town gave Port Vale quite a hard time this last weekend, which I was very heartened to see. But in general, I'm all in favour of encouraging group sport in particular. I think there are a lot of social skills there that are taught, that this is a very good project, and I'm very happy to see this come on the agenda here.
I think it's pre-season and everybody's a bit rusty because of all the rain, aren't they? I think probably is an excuse. What Newcastle weren't. Okay, that's good. Good to see our local team doing well. Any other comments from Cabinet members? I'm going to call in now the local ward member, John Williams. Welcome. And if you'd like to speak or ask a question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm speaking on behalf of the residents, and they welcome this building of this facility in Nutton and Crossheath. I mean, people throughout the area, I'm sure, will use this facility. But they're concerned with the infrastructure surrounding this development. An example, the flooding that happens there, and the parking that causes by the use of the football. The car park at the moment isn't adequate, but they park on the road. So it makes the Lower Mile House Lane very dangerous to cross. So that brings you on to a pedestrian crossing. We mentioned these points at the consultation, the master plan, and also brought it up at planning, but planning got no backing from the different organisations. But the residents feel, we're going this far. It's another step, Mr. Chairman, to get that area cleaned up. And a lot of the money's come from the 106 that has accumulated over other developments into the area. So say they welcome why I mentioned, can I just go back to the crossing? We've built over the years a cycle and pedestrian route from the Lyme Valley all the way through from the south of the borough, right the way through the borough to the sixth form college, where the county put in a pedestrian crossing there in Nutton Lane. We carry on then through Ashfield's New Road, up the lane to the mineral line. Superb facility. Down the mineral line, and then part of it goes to Silverdale, part goes to Apedale. As the cyclists have complained over the years to myself, that to cross Low Marlows Lane is a real effort. So it's something, again, that would help that cycle route, people to get from north, from the south to the north of the borough to Apedale Country Park, and also people using the facility, the football pavilion, crossing over that busy main road. If I may, Mr. Chairman, he mentions football, but there's only a park run. They would like to use this facility. And I'm sure there's other sporting activities in that area would like to use that pavilion. Of course, as it's been mentioned, Newcastle Football Club will take on that. And so it will be interesting to talk to them the way they run the pavilion. And it's a multi-sports, hopefully, a multi-sport area, not just for football, but for walking, running, cycling, and other activities. So I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and for your input. And I think some good points made there. And I think, obviously, as you say, community welcoming facilities, we've got some concerns about some of the infrastructure around it. I think it's something which, with, of course, town deal money and the investment plan for Nutton Village and the master planning project work is still going underway. And I think it's something which I think, Stephen, you can take away and take back to the town deal board if there is any extra money that comes out of some of the other projects which can be moved around, that we can consider some of those enhancements, particularly as I completely understand that Lower Mile House Lane is, when it gets filled with cars, dangerous points for crossing as well, isn't it? And also when there's the rain like we have today, it gets flooded very easily, isn't there? So if there is any slack in some of the plans, which we can shunt some of the money in that direction, is something which we could do to enhance the facility even further. I think, as Stephen said right at the beginning, it's beginning to deliver on some of that town deal stuff for the Nutton area, which has had a lot of knocks and taken over the years. And there's some exciting plans. This is the first one which will move to delivery phase. And we've got the recommendations before us that we cabinet notes the progress of the delivery of the football changing facility at the Wammy. The council funding, external funding is set out in the report, is used to fund the development of the changing facilities, and the council entered into a contract with Dawn Building and Groundworks as the most economically advantageous tender to construct the football changing facilities at the Wammy. All agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. And thank you, John.
Thank you.
Our next item is item number 8, which is the procurement of temporary agency staff. And over to David, portfolio holder.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Item 8 on the cabinet agenda today is in your cabinet reports pack, page 78 through to 81. The recommendation is that cabinet approve the process for procurement for the supply and delivery of temporary staffing for both recycling and waste and the street scene service areas. The sustainable environment portfolio has had staffing challenges in the last few months. The shortage of drivers caused us to look at dual driver and loader roles, which has been a good success. We do look to employ students in the summer and the winter holiday time. Students in the summer periods can be used for increased garden waste collection and to carry out ground maintenance in our parks and our open spaces. This approach has been utilised in the past, but sickness and other issues have meant at times the number of additional staff have not had the desired impact in supporting the increased work demand. So practice has shown us that agency staff are more efficient to call on, to cover peaks in demand, short-term shortages, and covering for sickness, which remains a concern for the two services, the recycling and waste and the street scene. This spend on agency workers in 2023 and beyond is a lot lower than in 2017 when the original contract was formally agreed. This is partly due to the revolutionising of the recycling and waste system. However, if you look at section 8 on page 80, you will see the projected spend on agency workers will be in the region of about 850,000 over a 4-year period, which is approximately 212,000 per annum. So the proposal to Cabinet is to undertake an open procurement process to establish a new framework arrangement. This is for the supply and delivery of temporary staffing for both recycling and waste and street scene. We would also ask that approval from Cabinet is agreed on completion of the procurement and evaluation process for the award of contract be delegated to the Service Director for the Sustainable Environment in conjunction with myself, the portfolio holder for the Sustainable Environment portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for presenting that. And I think, the sickness issue, which we've had, particularly in the last few weeks, has been down to obviously a bug circulating within the staff down there at the depot. So, but I think what we need to do is protect this excellent recycling service, which we've had since the last couple of years, since the changes that were made by your predecessor. And I think we do have an excellent recycling service. I think we've always used temporary staff to bring in when there are troughs and peaks, etc. And I think doing this now with these changes that you're bringing in will help us to deliver that service continually at the quality and the level we desire as a council, which of course the residents desire. They've had some really poor recycling systems over the years. We've got a good one now, and we need to protect that with these measures you're bringing in today. So I really endorse the proposals you put forward. Any other comments, Steve?
No, just agreeing entirely with what you say. The last few weeks, I think our blue bins have been a bit hit and miss due to this happening. And I think anything we do to do regular service for our residents is worth supporting, and I absolutely support us completely. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? No? Okay, so recommendations as read out by David on this item. Do we all agree? Thank you. And then the next one, item 9 again with David, is procurement of transport and recycling waste materials. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Leader. Item 9 on the agenda is in your Cabinet Reports pack, pages 82 to 85. The recommendation is that Cabinet approve the process for going out to procurement for the transportation of recycling and waste materials for the reprocessing or disposal at designated sites. Myself and the Service Director of the Sustainable Environment feel it is uneconomical for the Borough Council to buy vehicles for this purpose. The vehicles are high cost to procure and maintain and would not be fully utilised given the quantities requiring transportation from our Nutton Lane depot to the reprocessing or disposal facilities. So the Borough Council has a need to employ a transport provider to move skips and provide bulk haulage for recycling and waste materials from recycling and waste collections, street scene, cleansing residues, grounds maintenance, and any fly tipping materials. Our current transport contract is now at an end and requires retendering. If you look at page 3 if you look at section 3 on page 83 on the report pack, you will see an idea of the quantities needing to be transported. These include street sweepings, it's approximately 200 tonnes a month, paper and cardboard, approximately 300 tonnes a month, and ground maintenance to be composted, approximately 50 tonnes a month. I ask that Cabinet approve a procurement process using open procurement arrangements and delegate authority to the Service Director for the Sustainable Environment in conjunction with myself, the portfolio holder for Sustainable Environment, for the award of a contract on the completion of the procurement and evaluation process, providing it is within the available budget of 87,000 and is accounted for in the services MTFS for the provision of this contract. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And I think it's good work on this by yourself and officers. And I think just with my county council hat on, where I obviously deal with the waste from the disposal side, we're obviously the collector side. The officers there are really sort of pleased with and see Newcastle as one of the authorities that's out there in the front on this. I think the next item on the agenda is even further where we're out on front from the other districts, and they can learn a lot from us in this arena. And I think with that recycling service, which we have, which we just talked about, ensuring we have those correct deliveries and deliveries. Yes. And that we enable that we continue to do that, but also that we have these contracts in place to ensure that we can remove the materials as well. So I think that's really good. So well done. Any other comments?
Just what it says on 5.1, really, that we could do it ourselves. We could buy the vehicles in, but we wouldn't use them enough. So this is the ideal compromise to me.
Yeah. Okay, making best use of resources, and I'll get my deliveries right towards the end. So recommendations before us, all agreed? Agreed. And then we move on to the item 10, which is the third one in David's portfolio, which is separate food waste processing contract.
Thank you again, Leader. Item 10 on the agenda is in your Cabinet Reports pack, pages 86 to 90. Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council is a leader. We do not follow, we lead. We have collected food waste since 2010. We were one of the first authorities in the country to do so. The current contract for processing the food waste was procured and started in 2015 and ends in August 23. With the option of an extension of 1 year until August 2024. However, the collection of food waste from all households, including flats, will become mandatory in England in 2025. Our great sustainable environment team have already started pilots of collecting from flats and multi-residential properties in the borough in preparation for 2025. Different flat locations pose different challenges, and we will be looking at each flat location on its own and addressing those challenges. At the moment, the market for processing separate food waste is currently very competitive, with plenty of capacity in the Midlands to take separate collected food waste from local authority collections. As we get closer to 2025 deadline, when all authorities must collect food waste from all properties, any spare capacity in the system will be quickly absorbed, which will change the supply and the demand dynamics. With this in mind, we undertook a procurement process to get in early to ensure best value for the Borough Council and our residents. There were 5 bidders for the procurement food waste contract. The results are shown on page 87 of the reports pack. The bidders were anonymous and were known simply as bidder A to bidder E. Bidder C scored highest for compliance, quality and price, and that is the preferred bidder that the Service Director of the Sustainable Environment and myself, the portfolio holder for the Sustainable Environment, would like the Cabinet to propose. If approved, this will bring in approximately 78,000 extra revenue per annum in the first year and more from year 2 when the collection from flats is completely rolled out. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I think, as you said right at the beginning about we've collected food waste collections, way back, one of the first, definitely the first in Staffordshire to do that. And I think it's been, at the time, it was, obviously we were in coalition with, I was leader of the council at the time, we were in coalition with the Lib Dems, and we were moving towards recycling more than just paper. That's all recycled at the time, and part of that was moving to those fortnightly collections, which were at a stage when there was a lot of opposition to that, and we as Conservatives on the Cabinet really ensured that we got those weekly food waste collections in there, and I'm really pleased that all these years later the government are now making it mandatory. I think we've got a system that works really well at the moment, a system that can increase even more our recycling, get our rates of recycling up, and I'm really pleased that there is that saving on this as well, which you've managed to work through with the officers, David, which is really good. And I think it's a commend this report again, as I have the other ones from your portfolio, which are really moving us forward in this area that we are are doing really well in, really. And I think our recycling rate is on the up and has been on the up for a couple of years, where others in Staffordshire councils are on the way down on recycling rates. But again, they have plans to try and turn that around and increase them. And I think, again, I will put my county hat on and say that the county council officers are really pleased with the way that we are handling food waste collection, using that as a template to be used across the county by contracts, by the way we deliver the service, which is a credit to our officers here and the work of many portfolio holders over the years. Open it up for any comments, Andy.
Thanks very much. Now, I too, alas, am old enough to remember the battles, and there were battles fought to get separate food recycling back in the day. And I'm very pleased to have been part of a group, a Conservative group, that argued for that. And frankly, we have been proved right, haven't we? We have been ahead of the game in this respect. And I think this is a very heartening report. It does show that, as the portfolio holder said, where we lead, others follow. Also, I think the approach here to make sure that we get in while the market is vibrant, we get best value rather than waiting and getting stuck in a queue, also makes a great deal of sense. So this is a sensible and very heartening report, I think.
Steve.
I've got nothing to add, Leader, really. I agree entirely with what Councillor Fear says. I mean, when
that be minuted, please?
Yes, I did tell you what, Andy. Yeah, when I was a young lad living in Birmingham, we used to have two bins in the kitchen. We had the dustbin bin, and we had the compost heap bin. So it was never anything particularly new to me. We had a big compost pile in the back garden. My father used to put on stuff. So no, I think this is an excellent. I'm making more money out of it. I think it's a service is excellent. You can only go from better to better. Thank you.
You know how far you're going to go back then, Steve, and tell us a story about it. But actually, I've spoken to people, residents in my ward, when they talk about how they like the food waste collections. It reminds of going back to time when people used to not waste anything and used to save food scraps, etc. It's called the pig bin or something like that for the pigs on the farms. And I think it's to do that, and the government have accepted through their reforms that they want to bring this mandatory across the councils. And I'm really pleased that Newcastle is still at the forefront of that and has a good service. And this report you brought today, David, ensures that we do have, and also make some savings along the way from what we're already spending as we try to improve the service more. And I think the key thing, and I know our officers want to do this, and I know you want to, is to increase that uptake and the percentage we get out of that, because we want to increase our recycling rates well above 50 as we move forward. We're just below that, really late 40s at the moment. We want to get up above 50, but great report, a great recommendation. All agreed? Thank you. And now we move to item 11, which is a provisional financial outturn 22-23. And Steve's.
Thank you. This report details a financial outturn for the year 22-23. The regulations require the draft statement of accounts to be published on or before the 1st of June. And I'm pleased to say that the council have met this deadline, as there are a lot of authorities which haven't this year. The external audit of this accounts commenced at the end of June and is due to be completed in September in order to sign off at audit and standards at the end of September. The general fund outturn shows a favourable variance of £8,000 against a budget of 15.269 million. There have been a number of overspends during 22-23, including additional expenditure of 591,000 on the pay award, 683,000 shortfall on income collection, and an additional cost of 403,000 on gas and electric. These overspends have been covered by the cost of living reserve, £400,000, which the council put in place when setting the budget, new homes bonus funding of 240,000, 270,000 in respect of a business rates refund and levy payment payable to the business rates pool, and £587,000 additional interest received. This is on the money that we're holding in the bank due to town deal and high street funding. The collection fund balance is 1.7 million to the good, with the council share being 609,000. This will be paid into the business rates reserve, which is used to provide for any collection fund shortfalls. The council has usable revenue reserves totaling 5.205 million. The main items with the balances as 31st of March 2023 and a comparison to the balances forecast for the close of 22-23 as per the 23-24 budget setting are shown in paragraph 2.15 as you were. These level reserves will be considered again in the coming weeks as part of the 24-25 budget setting process. The capital progress has seen expenditure incurred of 7.5 million compared to a budget of 33.9 million. This is due to the funding from the Town Deal funds and Future High Street funds, where the council is working with various partners to deliver regeneration projects across the borough. The unspent funding has been rolled forward into 23-24. As recognised in the Corporate Peer Challenge review, which we talked about earlier, the council continued to maintain a healthy financial position, and this will continually be monitored. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, and just to emphasise that last bit about obviously key part of the report we've just looked at from the corporate peer review is that financial management, and this is a key report we bring which details that the outturn for 22-23, which is positive. And I think we, putting aside the cost of living reserve, which we've done for the last couple of years, has again been needed because of the inflation increases in high energy costs. So that has borne fruit again through what we decided at the budget meeting last February. Is there any other cabinet members that would like to speak on this? Any other members that would like to speak on this? Yes, I welcome Councillor Brockie to speak. If you'd like to put your mic on, and that'll be great.
Thank you, Chair. We live in volatile times. I noted that under section 9.1 of the team's report to Cabinet, there were a lot of areas of risk, significant areas of risk identified, which might impact on projected costings and fundings of projects, particularly in the town centre, which is my ward, which is why I'm bringing this up. It's reassuring that the progress and the impact on them of market fluctuations, flexible, agile market fluctuations, people's incomes and so forth. This is under bi-monthly review, as it should be, by the Capital Assets and Commercial Investments Review Group. In the interests of transparency and financial control, is it feasible to make the reports generated by these reviews more frequent so that all elected representatives can be involved in a regular scrutiny process?
Thank you, Councillor Brockie. I think you have raised this at scrutiny meetings as well, haven't you, relating to the to FAPs, I think. And I think our officers are looking at a way of including some of that in the update reports that go to scrutiny. I think the group you mentioned, which is the Capital Assets Commercial Investment Review Group, is an officer portfolio holder group. So it would be appropriate to produce minutes from those, as we don't for our informal cabinet meetings, for all sorts of meetings that happens across all councils. But I think there is a way of the decisions that come out of that, affect the capital programme and reprofiling of it. I think they should feed their way through into reports and do. But I think probably encapsulating them and bringing them to FAPs along with our financial updates would be appropriate. So hopefully we can cover it during that. Thank you for your for comments today. Any other comments from you, Steve, on that? No. Okay, so thank you for that. Recommendations have been moved. We now move on to item 12, which is the debt recovery policy. Steve.
There's not so many dates on this one, fortunately. This policy has been created to ensure standardised collection and recovery procedures to clearly highlight to debtors the recovery actions that will be undertaken regarding the collection of debts and ensure that rates of collection are maximised. The purpose of the policy is to ensure the efficient collection of income due to the council by implementation of a transparent charging policy, ensure accurate and timely billing, reducing the level of debt arising, and ensure effective and timely recovery processes. Ensure that debts are managed in accordance with legislative provisions and best practice. Ensure performance in relation to debt recovery is monitored and reported to the relevant management structures of the council. The council has a responsibility to ensure that a professional, consistent and timely approach is considered for all debt recovery actions across the council services, and to ensure that debts are managed in accordance with legislative provisions and best practice. What that really means is we've got three elements of debt. We have an NDR debt, we have council tax, and we have debt, if you like, people who don't pay rent for buildings. And this is just bringing it all together. So it's all handled in one sort of body. Everybody knows where it is. This is a policy. This is what we do. There's no ifs, buts, maybes. This is it. And it gives us something to work on. And I absolutely support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from other cabinet members? I think Steve's done a good introduction to that, and our debt removal policy, if we agree it today, will go onto the book, so to speak, and be used by our officers in all of those areas of debt recovery, which Stephen has mentioned. So can we all agree the recommendations? Okay, thank you. That moves us to, I believe, item 13, which is our forward plan, which starts on page 112. So if we go through them page by page, the first couple of pages are relating to today's meeting, which we've got all the items on there which we wanted. And then on that bottom of page 115, we see September Cabinet meeting, which is packed with some of the stuff we've been talking about earlier, such as the Future High Street Fund and also our asset management strategy and planning enforcement plan. And then on page 116, we'll begin our obviously process of budget setting with a medium-term financial strategy for the next year, 24-25. And then looking at a procurement joint venture partner relating to the developments in the town and the regeneration, and of course our Walleys Quarry update. And then over the page, we move on to October there on 117, which talks about Midway Car Park and a Rycroft Hotel Brand Award, and also some Chatterley Valley items. And then we move then to page 119, which continues the October meeting, which will be another busy meeting for us, talking about the urban tree planting strategy and also Kidsgrove Town Deal shared service and garage replacement. Okay, so can we all agree the forward plan? Good, thank you. And then item 14 is urgent business. I haven't received any in business. We do have a couple of confidential items which have been covered on the public agenda. It's just some of the bidders, for example, that we couldn't reveal in public, and the details which we will deal with in confidential items, which I will now move. Item 15, disclosure of exempt information to resolve the public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of reports that are likely to be disclosure of exempt information as defined by the Local Government Act Part 1, Schedule 12A, as amended to the Local Government Act. I so move. All agreed? Thank you.